Hi folks, welcome to another Tuesday evening. Let's start with the good old bear. The rear crown of the head is as if suspended. So feel your body hanging down. This isn't about pushing the head up, it's about letting the body hang down. Like you've been lowered to the point where your feet just touch the ground. Tune into your feet. Find the tripod in each foot and make sure that all 3 points of the tripod stay connected to the ground all the way through it, even as the weight is pouring in and out of a foot. So pick one foot, say the right foot, and look what's happening in that foot. Keep your awareness in the bottom of the foot, even as you turn towards the foot and the weight goes into it, and you move away from the foot and the weight goes out. All 3 points connected. And then look at the other foot, say the left foot, and do the same thing there. Really keeping the foot quiet on the ground as the weight pours in and out. And then pay attention to both feet. As one foot fills, the other is emptying. But the tripods stay connected. The bubbling wells stay open to earth. The mind rests in the dantian. So forget about everything else you're doing and just really get your awareness down into the dantian. Calm and quiet. And really feel the direction your belly button is pointed all the way through the turn. And feel what it's like there in your abdomen. Centering your awareness in your center. Feeling your hands move through the air as if it had the substance of water. So pay particular attention to the heart of the palm that's swinging in front of you. And try to feel the air parting right in front of the hand. The air is right there. You don't have to reach to touch it. But as your hand moves, it goes through the air, which is a fluid. So it actually is like water. So really feel the air. Easiest to find in the heart of the front palm. But all across your arms, on all the parts of the swing. And then focus on relaxing the whole body. We've been doing this for a while. So your patterns of tension and striving have a chance of coming to your awareness. So feel the whole body and look at any place that you're efforting, any place that you're striving, and let go, softening, releasing. Letting go. Running through all the points again. The rear crown of the head is as if suspended. You feel the open body hanging down. Space between your vertebra, space all the way through the torso, space through the legs down to the ground. Lots of room inside because of the suspended head top. The bubbling wells are open to the ground. The feet are quiet. The 3 points of the tripod in both feet stay connected. The mind rests in the dantian, centered in your center. The center stays calm as the motion happens around it. Feeling the air as if it has the substance of water. Right there all around you. You're moving through the air. And relaxing the whole body. Soft and letting go. Another couple swings. And take a break. The good old bear. So why do we do the bear so much? Well, because it's great. But one of the things about it is the motion is simple, right? So there isn't a lot of complexity in, details. Middle segment of finger needs to be exactly shoulder height. Middle finger needs to point exactly to the first joint of the thumb on the other hand. Hand, gaze, foot, one vertical line. It doesn't have all of that. And you get to do it over and over. And while you're doing it, you start to get to change the way you relate to yourself internally and the way you relate to the space and the air and the other people around you externally. And so that's part of what we're trying to do in Tai Chi, is we're trying to affect a fundamental change in how we experience and how we motivate and how we direct the things we do. So it needs to feel different. And a lot of times when we're doing complicated moves, you can get caught in your head. You can be, it's got to be exactly a ball of air. It's got to come up to a smaller ball of air. When I come through, the middle finger needs to be aligned right to the last joint of the thumb. The two hands need to be just enough space between them that I can see through them while it's still protecting my head. The bottom hand needs to be farther out. There's all that stuff. And so that can take you back into just thinking and trying to control the body externally. And part of what we need to do is we need to make an actual change in how we experience and how we inhabit ourselves and the space around us. And so doing something like the bear and paying attention to those things, the rear crown of the head is suspended, which lets the body hang down. So this feeling of the head being suspended is a feeling of spacious reaching down to the ground. So working through those one by one, rear crown of the head suspended, feet quiet on the ground, mind in dantian, arms moving through the air as if it had the substance of water, and complete relaxation gets you to start relating to yourself, to the space around you, as well as the space inside you, relating to that differently. And that's what we're trying to do in Tai Chi. You're trying to reprogram the way that you use your being and the way that you relate to the space around you. And that's not easy. It's not easy to change that. And doing more and more and more of the old thing, doing more work on the external level, won't affect that internal change. And so something like the bear, of just doing this and really trying to change the way it feels. Our teacher Jane would say, Tai Chi is about finding a new way to hang out in your body. So finding a new way to hang out in these amazing things we're born with, that's a big deal. And it takes work. So when you're doing the bear, a lot of times I see people doing the bear as kind of a mindless warm-up. And warm-ups are really good. You got to get yourself in touch with the body. You got to get all the pieces moving, especially if you've just been sitting, you're just getting up and the first thing in the morning, or you've been, doing repetitive, difficult work. Any of those things that can lead you to be crunched and tight, getting in touch with how it feels and moving is really good. But there's so much in the bear, having the bear turn into a kind of mindless, just throwing your arms around. The astute student will see that I'm making some mistakes here in the bear. Is a pity. And so, I see stuff online with people doing the bear where their knees are all wobbling around. I see stuff in classes where students are just kind of chewing their bubble gum and, getting warmed up. That's great. Go ahead, get warmed up, but give the bear its due. Actually spend the time and work on it that will let it start to change the way you relate to the space inside yourself, the space around yourself, what it is you do when you actually do something. How do you make that happen? The bear is great for all of those things. So why do we do the bear so much? Because we do. We're going to work our way up towards Repulse Monkey here. And we'll do that in this session and then also the session for Thursday of this week. And so Repulse Monkey is a great move. There's a lot going on in it, and it's different in useful ways from a lot of the other stuff that we do. One of the really key things about Repulse Monkey is to make it all one, so that you're not doing all of these separate parts. But it becomes one. And in order to do that, you have to have this, when one part is still, all parts are still. When one part moves, all parts move relative to each other. You've got to have that kind of threaded way that the motion moves through the whole body. And so I want to do a little bit with the continuous ward-off exercise, and then we'll start looking at Repulse Monkey. And at some point I'll turn it over to Beth, and she'll continue us with Repulse Monkey, and then we'll do more of this the next time. So continuous ward-off, just to review. Take ward-off left. And this is a combination of cloud hands and ward-off. So you're going to put more weight forward and turn to the outer corner. Sit back, the hands switch. Turn all the way to the outer side of your back foot. You've got another ball of air. And then back into ward-off. So more weight forward, ball of air in the front corner. Sitting back, hands switch. All the way to the back, ball of air in the rear corner. So you see how it's kind of like ward-off and cloud hands. Like cloud hands because of the ball of air and the switching of the hands. The ball of air on both sides. And obviously like ward-off because we go exactly through ward-off. Another way that it's like ward-off is that you've got pung ward-off in your body all the way through this. So now this hand is filling with ward-off energy. And then the rising hand is filling with ward-off energy. So you can go in and out through this. And do it on the other side, just so we've got the mechanics of it. Right foot forward, right hand in a ward-off, left hand by your side on the head of the small child. More weight forward, turn to the outer front corner, ball of air. Sit back, hand switch, shift and turn. Exactly as you get to 100% in the back, you've got a ball of air. Start coming forward, ward off left, right side, more weight forward, ball of air. Sit back, hand switch, turning, ball of air in the back at 100%, and so forth. We did a bunch of this in the Thursday session last week, so if you've got questions about the mechanics, you can check that. But basically, this is a great exercise for getting all of the parts moving. So one of the key things, go ahead and take a break. One of the key things doing this is you want to have the hands changing all the time. You don't want to carry. It's really easy to be here in ward off, and I turn and go towards the front, and you see nothing is happening in my arms here. I'm turning and I'm just carrying them along with me. So this motion of the waist did not affect any change in my hands and arms. That's an error. So that happens because I'm tight. I'm tight and I just carry the whole thing here. If I'm loose and open, when I do this, my hands will just change. And they will change continuously as I do that. Similarly, then when I sit back, now it's really easy to just carry this hand all of the way there. And you see, nothing is changing here. And again, that's happening because I'm tight. So this motion isn't playing out into the hand naturally. I'm just carrying it. So when you're working on this continuous ward-off, it's really important to always have the hands changing at all times. The ways they can change, they can be going up and down. They can be turning along the long axis of the arm, turning along the long axis of the arm, sinking, rising. So this is all change. This is all change that's happening there. And we need to have that kind of totally integrated continuous change in order to make Repulse Monkey work. So take this from ward off left again. And I want you to just do this very first bit. Turn towards the front corner and watch how that plays out in the two hands. And come back. Turn towards the front corner and watch how that plays out in the two hands. So exactly as you get to the front corner, you've got the ball of air. And so what has to happen? The two hands aren't over each other in ward-off, right? And when you get to a ball of air, they are over each other. So the two hands have to come together. The bottom hand has to get underneath the top hand. And as you're doing that, the hands are rotating. So just do that a bunch. Turning, rotating the hands, and back. Turning, rotating the hands. Look for that feeling of inevitability where your hands have to turn. And now do it on the other side. So ward off left, right side. More weight forward, turn to the outer corner, hands turn. And back. More weight forward, turn to the outer corner, hands turn. And you've exactly got a ball of air, hearts of the palms directly vertically aligned, right when you get to the end. Watch for twisting, watch for turning the upper body. So it's the hips that turn, the hips that turn. Incidentally, this is the direction, the use of the hips that's in the bear, where you close the hip that the weight is in. So you turn to the outer part of the leg that your weight is going into. Okay, back to the first one. Turn, ball of air in the outer corner. Turn, ball of air in the outer corner. Turn, ball of air in the outer corner. And now sit back and change the hands. And just do that part again. Make sure the hands are moving all the way through here. It's part of the waist. So you don't just move the hands. Get that feeling of inevitability and you notice all of the changes in the hands. Back to the 70-30, more weight forward, ball of air. Sit back, one hand drops, one hand rises. 70-30. Forward, ball of air, back, one hand drops, one hand rises. Once more. forward, ball of air, sit back, one hand drops, one hand rises. The other side. Ward off left, right side. More weight forward, ball of air in the outer corner. Again, back to the 70-30. More weight forward, ball of air in the outer corner. And back to the 70-30. More weight forward, ball of air, sit back, hands change. 70-30. Forward and back. Get that feeling of inevitability. The hands have to move because of the waist. And one more time. Back to the first side, left foot forward. And what we're going to do now is we're going to pay attention to the rotation into the ball of air in the back. So, from the 70-30, more weight forward, hands rotate. Sit back, hands switch. Now turn and have both hands change all the way. This is just like the very first thing. Back to the 70-30. Here you turn, the hands must change. Sit back, turn, feel the hands changing all the way. Ball of air, parts, palms exactly over each other. Again, forward, sit back, turn, hands rotating. One more time, 70-30. Forward, sit back, turn, hands rotate. The other side. Isn't it great working on Repulse Monkey? Forward, ball of air, sit back, turn, let that rotate both hands. Remember both hands, top and bottom. Back to the 70-30. Forward, ball of air, sit back, hands change, turn, hands rotating all the way, ball of air at the back. Once more. Forward, sitting back, hands are changing, turn, rotating, 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 rotating. Okay, now let's go for broke on both sides. Because once you've gotten to the ball of air, you know how to get into ward off. So starting from ward off left, left foot forward, and go. Having the hands change all the way through here. Hands are switching 70-30, rotating to the ball of air in the front, changing, rotating to the ball of air in the back. Get the feeling of inevitability. The waist drives this. You'll start by coordinating it, and then it will start to feel ridiculous to carry. One more time through it on this side. And back to the ward off. Change. Ward off left, right side. Forward, ball of air, sitting back, hands change. Hands rotate all the way to the ball of air in the back. Back into ward off. Forward, both hands rotate. Both hands change as you sit back. Both hands rotate as you get the ball of air. One more time through it, ball of air, changing, rotating, ball of air, ward off, hold it and ward off. So we've been working this exercise, and I'm working really little bits of this with you because I'm trying to show you how to look at an exercise like this. We start out looking at the external shape, the external frame of it, and then what you need to do is this whole thing about changing the way it actually feels when you do it. And so really little things like this turning here, turning the hands over, will have a big impact on whether or not you're doing the exercise internally or not. And what happens is we're trying to manage it from the outside. And there's all these things going on. And if I just carry my arms with me, then that's conceptually easier. It's easier for me to run the move from the outside. But just do this when you're working this. Turn and just carry your arms with you and feel what that's like across the chest and the shoulders. And then do it and let the arms change and feel what that's like across the chest and the shoulders. One of these is a different feeling. The carrying it with me and just kind of getting to the checkpoints is easier to manage from my head, manipulating the body. The other one, where everything changes all of the time, is more demanding moment by moment, but I pay a lot less attention on the outside to where everything is. So the reason I'm doing this is because Repulse Monkey is full of this kind of thing. So I'm going to do a little bit of time on Repulse Monkey, and then I'm going to turn it over to Beth, who's going to spend more time on Repulse Monkey. But let's run through Repulse Monkey a couple times. Let's just take it from fist under elbow, and we'll do 3 of them. Okay, go ahead, turn back to the front, hands turn over, step, and shift, hand switch. That's 1. A second, turn back towards the front, the hands turn over, step, and shift, the hand switch. 2. 1 more. Turn back towards the front, the hands turn over, step, and shift, hand switch. 3. So the little piece that I'm going to pay attention to out of here, there's lots more that we'll get to over the next hour and a half, but the little piece that I'm going to pay attention to is this turning over of the hand. And so the way we want this to work is that I'm facing, I've swung and I'm facing off to a corner, and I turn part way back to the front. So be careful that when you're doing this, you don't turn all the way back to the front, but you just turn part way back. And while you're doing this, what happens is that your front hip starts to come back. That creates a slight feeling of tautness up to the shoulder, which then draws the shoulder, the elbow, and the hand as the hand comes back here. So there's a feeling from hip all the way out to tip of the middle finger. As you do this, it's engaged all the way there. The other thing that can happen is you turn the hand over, and the motion starts with the hand, and you may skillfully coordinate that with your waist, but the intent and the action is out in the hand, and there isn't that same internal connection all the way through to the hand. So let's do it another couple times. We'll do it Goldilocks style, trying to get it to get driven from the hip all the way out to the hand, and then turning our hands over so you get that feeling, and then driven from the hip all the way out to the hand. So from fist under elbow, turn. Okay, and now start to turn back and feel how your front hip to your front shoulder all the way out to the hand is engaged as you get yourself up here. And step, and then shift. Final posture. Turn. Start to turn back, pull your front hip back, feel that go through to your hip, feel it go out through the elbow, all the way out to the tip of the middle finger, the palm is up, and step, and then shift. Once more. Turn. Draw the hip back through the shoulder, elbow out to the tip of the middle finger, palm is up, engaged, and final posture. Okay, now let's do it again, and I want you to start the motion with the hand. Do your best job. Try to coordinate the waist with it, but drive it from that front hand turning over. So turn. Okay, turn the front hand over. Turn the waist at the same time. Feel the quality in the arm, and step. Shift, final posture. Turn. Start from the hand. Turn the hand over. Coordinate with your waist. Step. And shift. Once more. Turn. Turn the hand over. Coordinate with your waist. Step. And shift. Okay, draw it again. Do it this engaged all the way from hip to fingers. Fist under elbow, go. The hip moves first. It plays out through the arm all the way to the tip of the fingers. Make sure the palm is up. And continue. Turn. Start to come back. Feel that play out through the hand. One more. Turn. Start to come back. Feel that play out in the rotation of the arm. And finish. Great. Take a break. So that's one little thing. And what I've been trying to do with working on the continuous ward off is to get you that same kind of feeling where emotion in the waist then plays out all the way through the body. That happens here. Emotion in the waist plays out through the hand rather than emotion that starts with the hand that I might coordinate with the waist. You have to coordinate with the waist first to get in the ballpark. But once you're in the ballpark, then we actually want to play the game that we came here to play. And the game that we came here to play is one of internal motion reflecting in the externals, rather than one where you make the externals work right and hope that the internals will come along. And so these two should feel really different in terms of that connection all the way through the arm. And if you don't feel it, that's okay. But go back to these foundational drills. Spend more time on the bear till you really get that feeling of Tai Chi, head top suspended, body dropping, all that stuff. Spend time on the continuous ward off until you find that to move the waist causes the hands to move. And then look at it in places like this. Now, that's one tiny slice out of all of Repulse Monkey. And so Beth is going to cut us another slice, and we'll get to enjoy it too.
All right, let's look at this move some more. One thing I want to address is how the hand turns over. Lee was looking at the relationship of your hip to the turning over of the arm. One thing that's worth pointing out, and I'm going to turn sideways so you can see it, is that it's tempting to think that you want to run an axis along the middle finger up the arm, and that then when you rotate the arm, that it rotates around that axis. But you see what just happened. Out here, and yes, Lee will be a little physical marker here. If I just run along that axis and turn it, see how it makes me drop right away? What I want to do instead is what we call the parade wave. As my hip pulls back, it's like my arm is getting longer. And the hand comes up a little bit, makes a little circle, and then the elbow doesn't drop to turn the hand over. So one way, I'm running along that axis, I drop it. The other way, I let the hand get taken up just a little bit into a circle that brings it back down and keeps the elbow and the arm pretty high. And so this is what we call the parade wave. That's extreme, what I'm doing here. I'm not just turning my hand like that. But if you use the hip to draw the shoulder to start the arm changing, what's going to happen is that it will start to pull on it, and the hand will come up just enough that when it turns over and kind of makes that little circle, it won't have disturbed the whole position of the arm. Part of that is the feeling of a long arm. So go ahead and let's do both these together so that you get the feeling. So from repulse, fist under elbow, and turn. Now do it where your hip is pulling back and having that change the arm. See how the hand comes up and then turns back over. The arm still feels long. Just come back to fist under elbow so we get the same feeling in the same arm. And now this time, let it turn around that axis and see how it feels shorter. It feels like the arm gets a little shorter, comes in toward you. Now, let's do it again. Turning the hip to turn the arm to get the hand to change, and the arm still feels long. So that's the feeling that you want when the hand turns over. So if we ever reference the parade wave, that's what we're talking about. Okay, so let's, Lee was doing this whole thing about the little motions that make something happen, something down here makes something happen out here. So let's take that moment of right at the beginning, and your arms extended. Now, bring the left hip back and just a little bit. Just put it in motion and see how right away, you can even drop your right arm so you're not confused by it. See how that little bit of change plays out in your arm and hand. And then after you do it a few times, you can let it play out all the way. And notice where your dantian is. It does not need to come all the way back to turn that hand over from the dantian. The minute that hip starts changing, it's going to play out in the arm. And so I'm almost there right from the very start, and then just a little bit more has not brought me back, as opposed to thinking that I need to move this a lot to make that change. And feel what that does. This is another place where if you turn more than is necessary, it's going to feel like you're making your arm shorter and everything's going to lose that nice threaded feeling. So let's try just looking at that from fist under elbow. Begin, you turn, and the arm comes out. Now, start turning back and notice where your dantian is when the hand turns over. Your dantian should still be in the corner. Now, of course, this one, we just keep starting here because it's the obvious starting point, but it starts with your foot at an angle, right, because we're like this, and all the other ones, you don't have that much turn, but it might be easier to experience it when you have more turn, because then when we are doing it in the move and our feet stay parallel, there's less turn, but it's the same feeling. So we'll look at it here, and then we'll look at it going through the move and notice how the hips just make little changes. They don't make a big change. So we'll do this, and I want you to feel what happens when you turn the waist beyond where it needs to go to get that hand turned over. So begin, you get your arm out, and now kind of lockstep your waist and your hand so that it keeps turning as you know, in a gross level way as you turn your hand over. And notice what that did to your hips. Do that feeling again. And notice the feeling in the arm. It kind of gets a little shorter. So now we'll do it the way that has less turn, but more meaningful turn. The arm is still longer, and your dantian is still facing the corner. So let's complete this move and feel it on the other side now. So at this point, check it out, get your feet parallel. This is going to reduce your amount of turn. But that doesn't change the situation. So turn. Notice where your dantian is. Now get that same feeling. Your right hip is changing to take that right hand to turn over. And stop when the hand has turned over. You need to still be to the left of center. So do that piece again from here. And notice where your dantian is. Now we'll do it one time, just feeling moving the dantian too far, and see what that does. So you're here, and kind of lockstep it. Turn back to the front. Feel that difference. And now we'll do it one more time, and then we'll do another. Turning back, hip starts changing, it changes the hand, everything comes into position. You're still to the corner, and that means you can step still a little bit in the corner and use that waist turn. The right hand drops, rear hand comes forward, and that little bit of waist turn squares you up at the very end, because you didn't give it all away from the start. So that's an important piece of this, is when we look at the little details like Lee was doing with the continuous ward-off exercise, those little motions need to do something. You don't wait until it's big for something to play out. And one of the many challenges in Repulse Monkey is that once your feet are parallel, there's just a limit to how far you're going to be able to turn. And so when you turn part way back, there's not much turn. So it needs to have a direct influence on what's happening in your arms if it's going to actually stay in the groove of what's going on here, and not lose the connection between the arms and the hips and dantian by doing more than is necessary and kind of missing the moment that a little change actually makes the turn start happening. So let's just do this once, kind of flowing, so that you get that feeling before we get into whatever's next. And begin. So feel that connection. Okay, now you'll have less turn because your feet are parallel. But it's the same thing, that turning of the hips right away drives into the arms. Okay, and you might not have room to do another set, so let's just do another set. Take it from the top and go. Paying a lot of attention to what's happening between the hips and the driving of the arms, in particular that front arm. You can look at the folding arm another time. So you're not in a hurry to get square. Okay, and rest your legs. So then there's something that plays out down into the feet as well when the hip drives and makes the motion happen. So if I'm going to start on number 3. So my feet are parallel. My feet are flat on the ground. I've just completed one of the Repulse Monkeys, and I turn. So at this point, the weight is in the back leg. You know, this is 100% always in the back leg. But this foot isn't just cut off and hanging there. There's the heel and the ball still have meaning even as there's no actual weight in that leg. So when you start to turn, you need the heel to be a connection to the ground to just kind of tether the whole movement and keep it balanced. So I'm not putting weight there, but I feel the heel as the arm comes through. So do this a few times and just feel how, without putting more weight there, I still haven't put weight there, but the foot has a connection through the heel. Now just try and feel it with a connection through the ball and turn and see what that does. Right away, I actually lose connection through the leg I'm standing on because of that ball connection. It just doesn't quite do the same thing. So notice the difference, and that you really do use the heel to get yourself into this position. But then what happens when the hands turn over? When you get to this point, and then the hip is going to start bringing your torso back, what happens in the empty foot? That hip actually lifts the heel off the ground. So you turn, and the heel connection through the empty foot. And then as the hands turn over and the hip pulls it into position, notice how the heel comes off the ground and the ball becomes your connection point. Try doing it where you keep the heel connected all the way through. So it's heel here, and then still in the heel. Feel what that does. That creates a lot of tension through there. So it's kind of miraculous, the difference that it can make if you let the foot change in response to when the hip comes back. It does a little something, the same thing that changes through the arm here is what changes through the foot as well. So let's do another round of this. We'll just do 3. And I want you to become aware of what's happening. Now you've practiced the arm a bunch. It'll do a better job. You don't have to be super focused on the arm. Bring some attention to what's happening down in the foot at the same time that the arm is doing the right thing. So begin. Foot goes flat on the ground, no weight. And it pops up onto the ball. So now it's easy to step. Foot goes down, ball first, sit down through the ground, heel comes down to the ground, takes your weight, and you can complete the move. And let's look at it on the other side. Turn, your foot's on the ground, but you're feeling through the heel. As you do the change from the hip, feel how that makes a change down in your foot, and step. And we can look at the way things shift and play out, maybe next time, because there's a lot going on in this move. Feel the heel, feel the ball, and step. Rest your legs. So, heel has the meaning of root, ball has the meaning of mobility. Even when your foot is empty, you're not putting weight in it, but you still have a relationship with one part of the foot or another. So when we do this move from the start, sure, you can keep your foot up there because you've got the heel, and then when it comes back, it can do that. But chances are that's going to put some tension in your ankle. So when you start here, of course you want as little tension in your ankle as possible. And when you start to turn, just let the foot softly drop to the ground. No weight, but you don't have to keep it on the heel. That could, with the ball in the air, that could create unnecessary tension. So at the very beginning, let that foot relax to the ground without putting weight in it, but you still have the heel. And then when you come back, notice how this change brings the foot up. After this first one, your feet are going to be on the ground the whole time. You don't have to worry about that. Do pay attention to what happens with your foot, your empty foot, after the very first one. So from here, okay, this one settles to the ground, but this one's at an angle. So when we come into the next Repulse Monkey, I need to give myself enough width that I'm going to have space here, because this foot's going to change, and it's going to change on the heel. Pivots on the heel, the ball comes in. So this is just a little thing, but it's easy to get yourself in a position where you kind of just step back and see, now I don't have any width. And when I come in here, what I'm going to want to do is turn it on the ball to give myself space. So you don't want to do that. That's, remember, heel has the meaning of root, and ball has the meaning of mobility. So you're not going to be moving, this foot is staying on the ground here. You're not about to step with it. So it's going to pivot on the heel to come parallel at this point. Let's do that round again. I completely lost track of the time. Do you know how long we have? Okay, great. So, from here, foot gently reaches down to the ground. Hips move foot and hand. Step and begin to shift. Complete the move. Foot pivots on the heel. All the weight stays in your left leg. Do the next one. You're feeling through the heel on your empty foot. As your hip comes back, it turns your hand and also lets your right foot come up on the ball. Now you can move it easily. And shift. And again. Okay, and rest your legs. So then the timing of the shift. We've talked about shifting under the bridge, the shallow walk, the half pipe. We've used a bunch of different imagery for it. And it's all trying to get at the same idea. So when you step back, you don't want to shift up and over. That will lead you to a disconnect at a really crucial moment. So you step, yes, as Lee is demonstrating there. When you're ready to shift, it's not that you instantly go into your back leg. So try that feeling. You get yourself all set up for the step, you step, and now go into your back leg. Just sit back and feel what that feels like, that falling into the back leg. There's a moment that's a little bit of a, wing and a prayer, as they say. So you want to feel that you have full connection. Put your foot back there, and now you're reaching with the heel as you bend your front knee to come down to the ground. At this point, now your back leg is ready to receive you, and you shift under the bridge and let that energy come up the back leg to drive the rest of the movement forward. Because remember, Repulse Monkey is not a backwards thing. You're moving backwards, but your attention is still forward. It shouldn't feel like you're falling back. So do it again on the other side now. Step. Dantian's still a little bit in the corner. Your hand is high. And sit down in your front leg to put the rear heel on the ground. And now let the weight transfer underground, come up your rear leg to put it into its final position. And again. Step. Reaching with the heel as you sit down into the front leg. So you're reaching with an empty heel. Then the weight comes underground and stabilizes your rear leg so that everything can move around that. So rest your legs a sec. In some ways, I think discovering it here helps you feel it in moves like, going into 70-30, where you have to give into the front leg, into the leg you're standing on, the rear leg, to get it up into the front leg rather than coming up and over. I think in some ways this is easier to feel because it's so extreme. So let's do it the other way again, and then we'll feel it the right way. So go. And you get yourself to the point where you're ready to shift, and now just put yourself into your back leg. Feel how that's a backward motion. It really feels backward. Let's do it on the other side. Step, and just sit into your back leg. Now, we'll do it the other way. So you're sitting down through your front leg to put the rear foot flat on the ground, and then let that transfer happen underground. It should feel much more like the move ends going forward, even as your weight is going into the rear leg. That's part of what puts this hand forward at the conclusion. So let's just come forward again, and we'll do another round of this. Begin, foot softens to the ground, connected through the heel. Now the connection's through the ball. Step and sit yourself down through the front leg. Next one. Step, sit down through the front leg to put the rear foot on the ground, and complete the move. One more time. Great, rest your legs. So then there's one more piece of this, and that is how far back do you step? So I could step back pretty far. Okay, I can still empty my foot, and as soon as I try to sit down and put my foot on the ground, I'm actually too far. See how the heel isn't, even if I reach with the heel, in order to do this now, I got weight in both feet. I have shifted without intending to. So that's too far. The other extreme is I step where I can put the whole foot down and pick it back up again, but this is too small. Then I can't really get out of one leg and into the other, so that's too short. So the Goldilocks place would be the point at which you can put your foot down, ball connects without weight, you can pick it back up again, and then when you sit down, you can put your heel on the ground. Now I'm not going to ask you to float your empty foot anymore, because that putting the heel down is the beginning of the weight shift. Do it on the other side. Foot comes up on the ball. Take a step. Sit down through the front leg. That puts the foot on the ground. Now you're in process of the transfer of weight. And once more. Okay, rest your legs. So that last little bit of where do you put your foot is going to make this natural or unnatural. So let it go down in a place where you can still pick it back up from the ball, but if you put the whole foot flat, you can't just easily float it anymore. I'm still using this leg. I still can now, I'm starting the transfer in a way that I can't, I'm getting out of that leg. But you don't want to take too long or too short. You want to get it just right. So paying attention to this little detail will help you figure out just exactly where you want to step. And that's probably enough for today. Obviously there's more, and we'll get into it for the Thursday session. But see you soon.